So a few weeks ago, a player I knew and played with about a year ago contacted me and asked me a rather intriguing question about castles and scouts. And essentially the gist of it was, is there a chance that even if your castle is completely fortified, that somebody could scout it and get a report? And the number he cited was 1%. There was a 1% chance of this, he believed. I had never heard of this theory, so I thought I'd put it into a bit of a practice test here. So I scouted my first village, village number 1. If we go into it and we can see the castle. Now this is a castle design. It's a bit outdated right now because I designed this about in 2012, I think. So yeah, this is definitely not up to today's standards. The meta has shifted a bit more towards oil pots in mass, but it's a pretty decent design yet compared to a lot of castles that I see players build. And this is fully fortified. And what I mean by fully fortified is I have 400 troops in here. 20 of them are pikemen, and the other 380 are archers. So as you can see, this would be under normal conditions fully fortified. There are cards you can play to increase the number of troops that are allowed in. Let me see if I can find it here. Yes, there are cards you can play, such as improved guard houses, which increase the total number of allowed troops in a castle. But for general purposes, you're not going to be using cards all the time. And it would be important to know whether or not you could simply prevent all scouts reliably simply by having this troop composition in your castle. And I think what the thing is that perhaps why some players have been scouted in the past is there might be different values on the archers versus the pikemen when it comes to the chances of a scout successfully scouting your castle. If the value is higher on the archers, that means if you have more archers on the walls, it becomes less likely your scouts will get a report. Whereas if you had more pikemen, the chances might increase for a scouting report. And I don't know this for a fact. I'm just speculating here because the results of 50 scoutings are somewhat what I expected. So here I scouted my own castle 50 times. Very last one I scouted it just to make sure that things were working. And yes, 7 out of 8 scouts returned. This, it should be noted, is when I didn't have any troops in my castle. So this top report here is from when I didn't have any garrisoned units in my castle. The rest of these, the other 50 reports here, are all when I had the full fortified castle, all 400 units in the castle, and all 50 of them, none of the scouts returned. That leads me to speculate, what caused this 1% rumor to start? Was it somebody who hadn't maxed out their keep? Because I know the keep does play a role. And keep in mind, my keep, I don't know if you can see it here, it is fully upgraded. So if you have a lower tier keep, that might have contributed to the problem. I'm also speculating that it might have something to do with the troop composition in the castle. Now, this is a troop composition that really is heavily focusing on archers, which isn't very realistic when you're trying to defend against certain captain attacks, for example. This is a more hands-off, maintenance-free setup here. So it could very well depend on the troop composition, but based on this troop composition here, I was not, after 50 scoutings, able to net one single report of this castle. And this is a fully completed castle, as you can see. It has pretty much the standard fare in terms of defenses. It's got, I think, all the ballistas, 3, 6, 7, 8. It has all 10 ballistas. It has all 10 turrets, I think. At least 6 of them. And got some moat, got some oil pots, got all the barracks. Pretty standard defense if you're farming like me. And none of the attacks, none of the scoutings, I should say, were successful. So in my opinion, if it is possible to scout a castle and get a report, if that 1%, because I've only tried it for 50, that means that it would have to be a 2% chance. I wasn't willing to spend the extra gold to get it to 100, but the thing is, it would cost so much to send a mass scouting to that village, and there was no real advantage to doing this, except for the fact that you can scout villages that are under interdiction. Otherwise, it's just far more economical, ultimately, to send attacks at the village. You're more likely to get a report if you send a decent attack than if you keep sending scouts. So the instances where this tactic, this 1% number, might actually be useful, in my opinion, is very marginal. I just don't I mean, maybe somebody can clue me in why it would be useful beyond the cited usage scenario that I presented a little bit beforehand, in which the village is under ID and you need a report of it. Aside from that, why would you ever need to scout a village instead of attacking it when you are reasonably sure that the castle has a full garrison? It's always possible that the castle that inspired this rumor of a 1% statistic was actually attacked beforehand by the AI or something like that, and it had sustained damages since it was last scouted or whatever. It's the thing about rumors, it's hard to quantify where they come from and what initiated them to begin with and why. Just it seems so random, and I've never heard about the 1% number before. That was completely new to me, and pretty much based off of what I see here, I'm sorry, but I don't think it holds a lot of water. I'm not putting a lot of confidence in that number, and even if it was, the cases, the scenarios where this might actually be useful, in my opinion, would be so astronomically low that it wouldn't really matter if you could. So yeah, I hope that answered some questions. If you have any additional questions that maybe I could clear up based on the results that I've received here that I failed to present in the video, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.